Okay, I believe we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a fistful of dice. My name is Matt, and we are doing a little Q&A here, a little casual get together, you and we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and answer some questions that have been accruing over the last few days. Please forgive my voice. I have been sick for the last 2 days. Today was my first day back at work, and I spent the entirety of my day coughing and trying to conceal the fact that I was deathly ill at work from my coworkers. So it's been a day, but I've been looking forward to this all week. I really enjoy doing these live things. So I've already got some questions lined up. Actually, quite a few here. So I'm gonna start working through the questions, and I'll also let you guys know that if you see questions in the comments that you like and would like to see answered, please thumbs them up, because the ones with more thumbs go up to the top and are easier for me to see. So definitely do that if you please. So the first question that I have here is from that punk dude. And that punk dude has a questions for me. He says, first of all, I just want to thank you for your channel. The quality of discussion in your videos is unmatched, in my opinion. Simply terrific. Thank you. I appreciate that. As for my issues, being a new DM myself, I often have trouble creating scenarios on the fly. I'm just going to kind of skim this because it's a long question. Problem creating scenarios on the fly so they fit with the overall story. Basically, he's asking about improvisation and how to come up with encounters and NPCs and locations and plot hooks and things like that, sort of on the fly, without veering too far off sort of the idea that you have in your head for the overall like arc or quest of your what am I trying to say? Your campaign. So basically, he sums it up. What can I do to improv on the fly and my improv on the fly encounter or area, maintaining adventure coherency? It is often difficult to think of all the finer details of a new random area the PC stumble across and effectively translate these finer points to the PC. And secondly, how can I keep conversations going for a longer length of time while maintaining interesting topics throughout? So he's also asking about conversing with NPCs. So, okay, all right. So the first part of your question is about improving and how you can create on-the-fly encounters and NPCs and scenarios while maintaining your overall campaign. And the way that you do that is you just it's kind of hard to talk about, but it's the easiest way to do it is to give yourself the best tools that are going to work for you for improv. So for me, you sort of have to identify the things that are going to catch you up. Are you good at coming up with areas? Are you good at coming up with NPCs? Are you good at coming up with encounters on the fly? If so, focus on the things that you're not as good at. And give yourself tools. Like I use these Rory story cubes, which are just these little dice that have symbols on them that are sort of intended to sort of, spur your imagination. So, you can grab a handful of these and roll them. And I got a book, I got a castle, and I got a fish. Okay? Let me show you what I got here. Whoop. So, a book, a castle, and a fish. So right there I'm thinking, okay, it is a library on the water that is sort of a stronghold tower. So I'm thinking that this library has partially sunk into this river that it's sitting on, and the PCs have to traverse like the lower flooded areas to get to the higher areas, and maybe there's a book in there that they need to get to. Okay, so right there, it's just a little something to sort of kickstart your imagination and your creativity. And the same can be said of I'm so sorry about my voice. The same can be said of non-player characters, using the same sort of tools, you know, name generators. I have a list here that I printed out of 100 non-player characters, their names, their races, their basic stats, what they look like, and also a little something about them. So, like the first guy on here is Aegis, a male tiefling monk. Aegis is heavy set with black hair and blue eyes. He wears modest garments and wields a mace and dagger. He seeks to free himself from an ancient curse. So right there, non-player character, I could easily throw into any campaign, have him be interesting. He's got wants and needs. He's distinctive looking, easy to stand out in a crowd. So giving yourself tools like a list of NPCs or a name generator, or I just got the 5th edition DM screen, and right here on the first panel, there's an NPC generating tool right here that you can use. NPC characteristics, ideals, bonds, flaws, and a name generator. So that's, bam, everything I need right there to come up with an NPC on the fly. So, and the other piece of advice I can give you about this is don't worry so much about it. Very few campaigns feel coherent or cohesive or flow in a way that is conducive to a story. Don't try and write a book. You're just trying to have fun at the table and have adventures. And, real life is not cohesive and coherent, so there's no reason that D&D needs to be. And then the other part of his question is, how can he have more meaningful and longer conversations with NPCs, with his players? And what I'll say to that is have the NPCs ask the characters about their lives. Latch on to stuff about their background. Have an NPC ask a character where they're from, or ask about a particular weapon or item that they have on their person. Ask them how they got a particular scar or battle wound, garment they're wearing, things like that. You want to engage the players in their characters. Make your players talk about their characters, and your players are going to be much more apt to talk about their characters, something they know about, than they are to, ask NPCs. So that's a good way to sort of kickstart conversation and also get players to think about their characters and things like that. So, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the comments here. Once again, if you see questions that you would like answered, please upvote them so I will see them. So the top comment right now is another one from that punk dude, who says, another question. I went ahead and purchased and printed off all of the resources that you included in your DM binder video. Could you give a few quick examples of how you would go about quickly accessing all of the information within those printed pages during a game to help create the game world on the fly? There are just so many tables that I wouldn't know where to start or when to utilize them. Yeah, let's see, is my binder around here? Yeah. So here's my binder. I've refined it since I last showed it to you. And what I have here is I have everything sort of tabbed out. Oh, I don't know if this is going to show up. But I got a tab here for dungeons, items, combat, location, and plots and people. And then I've got some maps in the back. So this is everything that I would need to generate on the fly. And I've sort of got everything just kind of organized how I want it so I can really quickly access it. And what I'll do before a session is, if I know for a fact that the party is going to an aquatic area, I'll take a little like Post-it note and I'll put it on the aquatic random roll table, just so I have it ready to go. So just taking a little bit of time, a little bit of prep before the session will help improve your ability to improv and create stuff on the fly and utilize resources like your DM binder or your Rory's story cubes or your random NPC generation tables or what have you. So yeah, just take a few minutes before each session and make sure you have all the tools that you need. All right. I apologize for just being deathly ill. All right. So the next question comes from Lynx Panda. They ask, do you have any particular strategies or tips for figuring out if a particular group of people are going to like the campaign that you designed? Essentially trying to figure out if they'll like the setting or the sort of overarching plot without straight up asking them or committing to it. I kind of had some inspiration for my campaign I'm making, and I love the setting and the idea, but I can't tell if the players will too. Thanks. See you Thursday. What's wrong with straight up asking them? That's my question. You want the world and the setting and the campaign to be collaborative. So it is totally okay to ask the players what they want, to ask the players what kind of campaign they'd like to play in, to ask if they want, lots of combat, some dungeon delving, political intrigue, if they want it to be like war, invasions, what kind of tone they want. Or you can always just kind of give them a really succinct sort of brief, hey, here's what I'm kind of thinking of for the campaign, a paragraph or two about the setting and what sort of missions, that the player characters will be able to undertake. There is no reason why you can't just straight up ask your players. You don't need to blow by blow lay out what the campaign is going to entail as you envision it, but there's absolutely no reason why you can't just ask them. So definitely, feel comfortable doing that, and you should. And your players might just, surprise you and come up with some cool stuff that you can include in the campaign. So, all right, the next question comes from Miss 100000123. And they have, in parentheses, Pathfinder. So I'm guessing it's a Pathfinder rules question. How do you kill your own character when he's the healer of the party? I found it to be really hard. The party seems convinced they need one to be able to survive longer than 5 minutes and really rely on being healed. That's why I think it would be best to have my character die so they'd forcefully learn they can do without. For the reason I want to start another character, the campaign is heavily combat-oriented while my character is next to unable to do that. Even aid another and tactical movement doesn't seem to help anything at all. I'm not really sure how to answer this question because I think it's kind of weird. Why do you want to kill your own character? If you don't want to play your character anymore, then just tell your DM that you don't want to play that character anymore and ask if you can create a new character. And as for the campaign being heavily combat-oriented, you're playing the most combat-oriented divine caster. Clerics, especially in Pathfinder, are really good at hitting things, especially when they buff themselves. So unless you're saying he's not a cleric, you just said he's a healer, but yeah, that's just kind of backwards. I'm not really sure how to answer that. I'm sorry. That's a problem I have not had to deal with. You definitely shouldn't kill your character out of spite to the rest of the party. That seems kind of childish and passive aggressive. Okay. Next question is from John Pintar, who has an awesome Momo avatar. Something that occurred to me a few days ago. Writing a fantastical D&D adventure might be a lot easier than a low magic adventure. Let's say I want to write an adventure set in Westeros. Seems like an easy task, right? No. Okay, let me check what monsters work with that. Wait, monsters in Westeros are rare. No problem. I'll make a sorcerer bad guy. Crap. The way I see it, having a lot of colorful monsters helps the writing process. If you have only humans to work with, well, then you have to get creative. You have to make one group of humans attacking the players different than the other. Have any ideas on how to make this easier? My group really likes realistic low magic worlds. Yeah, I mean, Westeros is low magic, but they also fight a lot of zombies, and there's dragons like every chapter. So, if you're going for low magic, you just want to make the fantastical things rarer and more important. So you just, dial down the non-human races, dial down the magic classes, and I mean, it's easy enough to create interesting bad guys just from humans, just give them distinctive weapons and goals and make them distinctive looking, uh, things like that. So, I mean, yeah, it's difficult to create a world with D&D without using a bunch of magic and monsters, but I mean, if you think about, okay, let's take the Provokers for example. So the Provokers have fought scarecrows, an owlbear, ogres, and a hill giant. And we're 6 sessions in, and those are the only like non-human things that they've fought. So it is entirely possible to create interesting human characters that the PCs can fight. So, yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, next question is from Mike Van Leeuwen. Hi, Matt. I'm going to DM a new adventure I wrote myself in a couple of weeks, and I'm wondering how detailed do you write the main quest line in your stories, because I plan to use a lot of random dungeons in the sessions because I know the group likes those things. I would like to know how to fit them in the story even though they might not directly be involved to the main quest line. And I have this issue that we rolled for the stats of their characters. Their scores are pretty darn high, and since we play with 4 to 7 players, I don't really know how to find the good challenge rate for their encounters. These might be newbie questions, but if you would answer some of it, I would be grateful. Okay, so first part of your question, putting sort of random encounters or random dungeons or things that are sort of tangential to the overarching plot. I sort of already answered that with that punk dude's question, but play to the player's goals and what they want to do, and that's an easy way to sort of make it feel like the dungeon is not totally random and tangential. So like, an item that one of the characters really wants is in the dungeon, or they can go through a dungeon to learn more information about the main villain that you have in your campaign, or they need gold to acquire a boat to get somewhere, so they need to go delve into a dungeon where it's rumored that there's, like thousands of gold or something like that. So, it's easy enough to put things like that into your campaign if you can kind of tie it to, the goals of your players and the goals of the campaign as a whole. So, and then as for the high stat problem, I mean, if you find that they're killing stuff too easily, I mean, just there's no reason why you can't up the ACs or hit points of these things to present a challenge. Some DMs are really opposed to that, but there's no reason why you can't adjust stats on the fly, to suit the challenge that you're wanting to present. And if you throw something at them that's too difficult, there's no reason they can't run away. And if you throw something too easy at them, there's no reason why they can't just walk over it. It'll make them feel heroic. Obviously, you don't want every encounter to feel like that, but if they walk into a room and just completely destroy everything, that's fun sometimes. So don't poo-poo the easy encounter, and don't poo-poo the too difficult one. Just throw stuff at them and see what happens. If they get wiped out by something because you throw something a little hard at them, it's their fault for not running away. I had a character die on Saturday because I didn't run away. It's my fault. So I might tell that story before this is over if people are interested in hearing how my character died. Okay, got another question here. A bunch of questions, actually. Okay, so let me refresh here. Hey, Vince. I feel like the comments are not refreshing as quickly as I would like them. Now it says there's no comments. Vince, don't eat that. I shouldn't have to say that to you. I know. Okay. Vince, you're gonna get kicked out if you won't shut up. You gotta be quiet. Got some questions on Facebook too, it looks like. Yeah, I'll answer a couple questions on Facebook. So Rob Davis, Swamper, asks, "What's one thing about What one thing about the fifth edition system surprised you the most? What current rule in 5e are you most likely to house rule over because you don't like it?" The one thing about 5e that surprised me the most was the backgrounds. When I played in the playtest, I did not like the backgrounds. I thought they just felt weird. It felt weird to have background stuff, but they're my favorite thing about fifth edition. I love the backgrounds. I love the bonds and the flaws and the ideals and stuff like that. And I like the trinkets and stuff. So backgrounds is probably the most surprising aspect of the system to me. And then the rule that I'm most likely to house rule. Probably something to do with like opportunity attack or something like that. I tend to, if you can describe yourself, moving away from someone or casting a spell right in front of them, I'll sometimes just kind of gloss over the opportunity attack rule. It can get really sort of bogged down if you stand by it. But the way I understand it, opportunity attacks in 5th edition are not as stringent as they were in 3rd. I think the only way you can get an opportunity attack is if you move out of an opponent's threat range without taking the disengage action. I don't think that casting spells in front of someone provokes opportunity attack. I don't think using a ranged weapon in front of someone provokes opportunity attack. I think all of that stuff is handled with advantage, disadvantage now, so that's good. And then Clay Hollinsworth, what's up, Clay? Asks, after playing 5th edition as much as you have, what edition do you find that you prefer, Pathfinder included? Right now, I prefer 5th edition. I'm playing in a Pathfinder game, and I'm DMing a few 5th edition games, and 5th edition just feels really nice. I can't really explain it better than that, other than it just feels really slick and fast, and it's a system that really sort of puts a lot of importance on roleplay. And that's not to say that you can't do that with other systems. I mean, you can play 4th edition and put a bunch of importance on roleplay, but I just feel like the rules of 5th edition lend themselves better to more creative thinking, if that makes sense. I like 3rd edition for the crunch of it, for the tactics of moving and the combat, and optimizing your character with feats and skills and stuff like that. I get a sense of satisfaction out of doing that, just as I get a sense of satisfaction out of creating a really nuanced and fun character in 5th edition. So, there's pros and cons to both. Right now, I really prefer 5th edition, and I'm probably going to stick with it for the foreseeable future, but that's not to say that I'm not going to keep playing Pathfinder as well, because, we have our monthly Pathfinder game, and, not try other editions out. And, one of my resolutions for 2015 is to broaden my gaming horizons and play in some different games. I want to play in Edge of the Empire and Numenera and Within the Ring of Fire, and I want to try out Eclipse Phase and stuff like that. And I'm talking to Chepe about playing in his World of Do game, which is like the super niche like Fate game, and I think that could be a lot of fun. So I definitely want to branch out, because I'm so D&D centric. I'm so sort of hung up on D&D that I definitely want to branch out. And I feel like playing in those games is going to improve my playing and my DMing in D&D. Just like playing Call of Cthulhu or running Call of Cthulhu has given me more tools to use when I run D&D. So okay, I'm gonna try and refresh the comments here. So we got a question from Sean Aurora. I am planning to run Horde of the Dragon Queen with a group of friends. What should I prepare for this campaign? Combat encounters, and how long should I prepare for? Well, I mean, that's kind of up to you. If you have the Horde of the Dragon Queen book, which I think mine is sitting around here somewhere. Is it down here? Yeah. if you have your, your Horde of the Dragon Queen module, open it up, and read through the first few acts of it. Read through the encounters, figure out what you want to run, what you don't want to run. There's no reason why you need to run this exactly as it's put in the book. In fact, you shouldn't. You should totally make it your own. And like for me, if I were to run Horde of the Dragon Queen, I would severely cut down on the number of encounters that are happening in this first episode, Green Nest and Flames, because the amount of encounters is ludicrous and not not really fun at all. So, just read through the first few episodes and, take notes, figure out how you're going to run it to suit your group and your players. And, you also kind of get a sense for it as the campaign goes on, what they prefer and stuff like that. So don't get too hung up on it, at first. Just kind of read through it, figure out how you're going to run it and what you need, and go from there. Okay, I think we're actually caught up with the questions. Oh, no, we're not. All right, Chepe's here. Fontrodden. What do you get when you have a geisha, a samurai, and a dock worker getting caught up in a murder, a political scandal, and a foreign painting smuggling ring, and ultimately leading to two rival Yakuza gangs killing each other in a showdown in a brothel? The answer, World of Dew. Seriously, though, what have you been up to for preparation for games? What kind of Japanese Edo character would you play if you could? In terms of prep, I've been prepping for kicking off my second Spelljammer campaign that I'm going to be running here. Not this weekend, but next. And I'm also fine-tuning my campaign world of Estia, which is my ancient Greek-inspired campaign world. Sorry, my cat is just getting into all sorts of trouble. And I actually think I might run a few one-shots set in Estia because it could be really fun. Oh my god, Vince. I've kind of been futzing with with the rules a little bit. The characters would start off at a higher level and would roll the stats a little bit differently, would have max hit points. Every character gets to pick a patron deity and pick a cleric domain, even if they're not a cleric. And we're also going to be tracking piety, which is one of the optional rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide, where if you serve your god and you do things to venerate them, you get piety points, and those add up, and you can get blessings and gifts and things like that from your patron deity. So that could be pretty fun, I think, and I'm definitely excited to try that out. Kind of a high-powered superhero game where everyone's kind of pretty much demigods essentially, because you're gods touched characters. They're I call them paragons. So I think that would be pretty fun. And I'm also working on my Sewers Under Sandwall module, which is coming along nicely. I kind of hit another snag where I'm just having some issues with mapping it all out. And honestly, I think what I need to do is I need to run it like I would normally run a session, because I'm not used to writing up a module and running it like that. I just write bare bones notes and run it from there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of write it up like I would normally write up my notes for a session and run it for my at-home group, and then take notes from there and apply those to writing the module. I think that's going to be my best bet for getting over this little creative hump that I have writing it. So we got a question here from Wilfrey2097. He says, "Hey Matt, love your videos. I always rewatch them whenever I'm planning up things for my campaign." Thank you very much. Really, man, I wish you were more popular. Well, I mean, I'm good with what I got. Well, I need some advice. My campaign only has 2 characters, a Ladrin wizard and a human warrior, but I often have a hard time trying to make the game fair while keeping it challenging. I have been thinking of adding a new NPC ally to the campaign that follows and helps them out and grows with them. I'm a bit afraid it might develop, I think he means, as a DMPC. Is this idea really a good idea? Okay. So don't do a DMPC, but give your players the option of hiring people, getting hirelings, having them be able to rent out the services of a rogue, of a cleric, of a fighter, and and just have them go with them whenever they need them. If they want to keep the hireling with them, and that hireling develops into a cool NPC that kind of gets cool magical items and grows with the party, then that's good. But try and put as much as you can the hireling's actions in the player's hands. Have them sort of decide what the hireling is going to do, with them, instead of you controlling a PC. Because the last thing you need as a dungeon master is controlling a character. I would hate to do that. I don't understand how DMs do that, where they have a DM PC with the party. I would hate to do that. So, yeah, give them the option of hirelings. That's always fun, and it's a cool way for them to sort of say, well, we're going into this dungeon, we're probably going to need a rogue, and maybe we'll hire out a priest too, and that gives you the option to come up with some kind of cool, throwaway NPCs that may or may not survive the dungeon, and so yeah, definitely give them the option of doing that. And they're actually it sounds like you might be playing 4th edition because you have a Ladrin. I'm not sure if they have hireling rules in 4th edition, but there's hireling rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide for 5th edition. So, yeah, that's the advice I would give. Oh, and then I forgot to answer Chepe's second question, which is what kind of Japanese Edo character would you play if you could? I'd probably play a samurai. Samurai are badass. Actually, I'd probably go the super cliche route and play a Ronin. I love the idea of a masterless samurai, and some of the coolest characters in Japanese cinema and samurai cinema are Ronin. So, yeah, I think I might play a Ronin because I just always wanted to. So, all right, checking for more questions. We've got some more on Facebook. It looks like I got them coming in from all angles. I'm so sorry. I'm just an old, gross, sick man right now. We got a question on Facebook talking about D&D. Which historic settings would you like to see officially brought to 5th edition, and why? By historic, do you mean like historical, real world historical, or do you mean like D&D historical? I'll answer both. Real world historical, I would like to see a Viking settings, and I would like to see a Greco-Roman setting and a feudal Japanese setting. Historical D&D settings, I would say I want to see Greyhawk, Ravenloft, Dark Sun, and yeah, Ravenloft, Dark Sun, Greyhawk. Those are the 3 I'd most like to see, and Spelljammer. The Spelljammer that I run is quite a bit different from, generic Spelljammer, but it would still be cool to have Spelljammer rules and stuff for 5th edition. I don't see them doing that anytime soon, though. I don't think Spelljammer's going to catch on in a big way. Sorry, that was my phone. Okay. Let's see, we got some more questions. When we run out of questions, I'm going to tell you guys how my character died. This is very sad. All right. So we got a lull. Ah, damn it. We got more questions. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound disappointed with the questions. Of course I'm happy we got more questions. I was just excited to talk about my character getting an axe to the face on Saturday. Dennis Fogg asks, do you have any encounter tips for new DMs? Yes. Environmental effects. Add in stuff that the players can use. Chandeliers they can drop. Barrels that explode. Oil they can light on fire. Ice on the ground. Debris falling from the ceiling. The easiest way to make an encounter exciting is not to throw more monsters in, but to create environmental effects. If you go to afistfulofdice.com, in the resources section, there is a PDF that I've entitled Better Battles, and that's a cool way to sort of add some flavor to your combat encounters. So definitely check out Better Battles. Erica's Umbra asks, how long have you been playing Magic the Gathering? Have you ever thought about doing some content based on it, or run a campaign similar to the Guilds of Ravnica, or use the flavor from Magic the Gathering? I've been playing Magic the Gathering since 3rd edition, on and off. Definitely had some lulls here and there. I got really back into it during the Alara block, and I pretty much stayed with it since then. I didn't play a ton of Innistrad, and I sort of missed. No, I guess I played. I played Return to Ravnica and all the new Phyrexia stuff, and Theros I played, and right now I'm playing cons, obviously. Usually I have all my magic stuff back here, but it's actually all laid out on the table because I'm organizing my cards right now. Um, I have a ton. So my fiance and I play. She really likes Magic. I really like Magic, and we play together quite a bit. And prior to that, I played with my roommate. We played Magic pretty often. We would create decks specifically designed to destroy the other person's deck. So we would do like these versus matches, you know. But I have thought about doing Magic the Gathering stuff. I've kind of steered away from it just because I've done content for other stuff in the past, like video games and music and stuff, and it just has not done very well. People don't really dig it that much, so I've kind of just steered away from non-tabletop RPG stuff. But you know, I might think about doing some Magic the Gathering stuff in the future if I get time. Right now, I just straight up don't have the time for it, but you know, in the future, I wouldn't say no. I love Magic the Gathering, and I love playing it, so there's no reason why I couldn't do something on it. So, William Spock asks, "Hey, thanks for all of the help. I'm a new DM, and I would like to know how I should give my players a home base. How do you do it? Make them win or pay for the home base." Maybe they clear out a tower of orcs and they decide that they want to set up camp there because it's in a strategic position. Or, you know, maybe they're able to buy some land off of a local lord. Or maybe a duke promises them a vast sum of gold, but instead when they get back to town, he says, well, I'm going to give you this plot of land instead, and there's this old crumbling fortress on it, but it's worth the equivalent of this gold. So make them work for it. This might be the greatest YouTube username of all time. Al Capone you. Hey Matt, thanks for all of the videos. Lots of great tips you give out. What are your favorite constraints besides time to give players? I.e., what stops the characters from breaking every treasure chest or door when they fail to pick it? Traps, NPC reactions, you know, if they're gonna, like, kill somebody or do something dastardly, you know, having the NPCs react poorly to it. The law of the realm, obviously, you know, if PCs break the law, they have to answer. They have to realize that, you know, there are rules and there are laws where they are, so, yeah, I hope that answers the question. Checking for more questions. Okay, alright. I'm going to tell a question about how my character died. Alright, so I have a video where I talk about making 0-level characters and randomly rolling up characters. And the character I made out of that was Krith Abathon, and he was a half-orc ranger. And I've been playing Krith for about 6 or 7 months. Started him at level 0, and he was coming up on level 4 when he died. The party has been together and whole for this entire time. We haven't lost a member yet. So we're going in this house. We got hired by this local lord to clear out his manor because there are bandits in it. So we go in, we have our first combat, we wipe the floor with these guys. It's a bunch of goblins, and we just destroy them. Like, we don't take a point of damage. We just, like, kick down the door and SWAT team it. Like, the rogue, like, kicks open the door, and I'm standing there with my bow, and I just take out a goblin with one shot, and Wizard steps through the door, and it's just like, burning hands, and just, like, kills the rest of the goblins, and we're like, yeah, we got this. We're just gonna go room by room and kill everything. We get to these set of 3 rooms, and inside each room, there's a bandit asleep. So we split up and we decide we're going to slit these guys' throats, coup de grace, basically. So I step in the room and I try to coup de grace this guy, but the DM's like, well, you can't coup de grace. It's a full round action and you moved. So you have to wait until next round or you can attack him. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll attack him. I'll still do a ton of damage because he's, unconscious. So I get like a big bonus to my attack and my damage, but I don't kill him. So he wakes up, he grabs his axe, and we start fighting. At this point, I'm pretty much at full health, but I had got hit in the shoulder by my ally earlier because she was shooting with her crossbow, and she crit missed, and it hit me in the shoulder. So I had like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hit points gone. It didn't matter in the long run. Otherwise, I was at full health. He crits against me. I'm down to half. I keep fighting. I'm not running away. He crits against me again. At this point, I'm down to just a few hit points. I decide I'm going to try to intimidate him. So I roll my intimidate and I say,
I came into this world kicking and screaming, covered in someone else's blood. I don't mind leaving the same way.
And these would turn out to be my final words because he critted against me a third time. And the DM was rolling out in the open. This was a legit natural 20. We all saw it happen. And he knocked me down. In Pathfinder, how you die is if you take an amount of negative damage equal to your Constitution score, you are dead. So I say this line,
I don't mind leaving the same way.
And this bandit says, neither do I. And he takes his axe and he swings it at me. The axe cleaves through my shield, chops through my hand, and cleaves into my face, straight down the center of my freaking face, caving it in, crushing my skull. Brains are coming out of my face, and I just slump to the wall and slide, dead before I hit the ground. And I was by myself at this point, so the rest of the party didn't know that I was dead, and they come running into the room, Krith, and they see me laying there with this axe in my face. They kill the bandit, and they're all standing over my body, and my buddy Ian, he's playing the rogue. He had some sad music going. It was like some adagio for strings type shit, just this, mournful music happening. And people were tearing up at the table. I shit you not. Like, this is a real emotional moment. I'm sitting there with Chris' character sheet, and I'm like looking at the DM, and he goes, do you have another character ready to go? And I go, no, I gotta roll somebody up. So I went over to the other table, and I rolled up a dwarven fighter. But the party the party has a plan to take some of my hair, and they're going to try and resurrect me later on when they have enough gold. But for now, Krith is dead. Will probably remain dead for a number of sessions. But this was probably the second saddest I've been over a character dying. The first was my gnomish artificer Damph. But losing Krith, man, I really liked him. He was a fun character to play, and yeah, it's gonna be hard without him, man. But I rolled up a pretty fun dwarven fighter. He's a gravedigger. His name's Igdolf, and he has a really thick Russian accent. So that's pretty fun. So, all right, refreshing comments. Looks like we got some new ones. All right. Intuition Joe says, fantastic, a fistful live stream. Let me get out my big box of questions if they're still being taken. What makes a good one-shot adventure? I'm hosting for a few friends, but my style tends to lend itself towards the extraordinarily long-term campaign stories, using mysteries mostly to engage players. How long should a single one-shot be? How many encounters should it have, etc.? Any tips you have, I'd love to hear. 5th edition D&D if it matters. For a one-shot, dude, play up the gimmicks. Like, just throw something crazy at the players that you would never put in a campaign. A one-shot is your chance to, like, experiment. Like, just try something crazy out that you've been wanting to try, like a whole party of rogues or a whole party of wizards, or, they're going to be underwater the entire time, or they're in the Feywild, or they're in the Shadowfell or something like that. just really make it kind of insane and try out some of the dungeon mastering techniques that you've been holding off on trying because you don't want to mess up your campaign. So make it fun, make it exciting, make it really fast paced, and just have a good time. You know, one shots are a great way to just try out new characters, try out new settings and stuff like that. So watch some of the crazy ass one shots that people like Andrew Knapp, SR2 Joker, and Chepe Fontraden run. Those guys are just insane. I don't know how they come up with this crap. Go watch some of their one shots and you'll get some ideas. All right, Lynx Panda. Okay, I got to thinking again. In my campaign, I have a wide array of players with a wide array of experience. One who is totally unfamiliar with fantasy settings entirely and is basically unfamiliar with role-playing, though he is loving it right now. One who isn't very experienced but is very creative and imaginative. One who is very experienced with standard fantasy settings though seems uncomfortable with role-playing. And one who has played RPGs for a very long time and is extremely comfortable role-playing. With this being said, I'm worried about two players being reluctant to roleplay, causing there to be a weird discord between how the two players are treating the campaign, the others, and how the NPCs of the world are designed. I was wondering if you had any good strategies for, I guess, kind of goading the less experienced players out of their shell and into character. I have ideas, but it's always nice to have more perspectives. Sorry if this question has bad timing or anything. Okay, the first thing I would say is don't worry about there being a discrepancy between how the players are role-playing. It is never going to break immersion, necessarily, if two players are talking in character and two players aren't. Also, don't try and put those players who aren't role-playing on the spot too much because you're going to make them uncomfortable and they're going to have less of a good time. But you can the players that are really into RPGs and are really into role-playing, ask them to kind of help you out and interact with the other players more. Ask them what they think of plans that they're coming up with or what they think they should do about encounters. Give them the spotlight when talking to NPCs and stuff like that. Hey, Vince, come on. My cat is just driving me nuts right now. He's getting into stuff he shouldn't. I know, we're never in here. So, yeah, but, I can't remember what I was saying. Oh my gosh. Vince, you gotta be quiet, dude. Yeah, don't worry about it too much. It's not there won't be a weird discord, as you say. You know, I've had a lot of experience with groups where certain people are really into it and certain people aren't. And, you know, it's still fun. It's still a lot of fun. And, you know, those players will either come out of their shells naturally or they won't. And, you know, either way, it's okay. So, definitely try to involve them more in the planning process and interacting with NPCs and stuff like that. And like I said, utilize those other players who are experienced in helping you, you know, kind of get those players into it. So, okay. Wasp Prime RLSH says, "Hey Matt, how can I, as a player, keep my cool when gaming? I seem to always become a real annoying character in game. I love gaming, but I seem to make it difficult for others. Be okay with being quiet. You know, when that awkward silence settles over the table after the DM is done talking and no one is speaking, and you feel the need to start talking, just be quiet. Be okay with other players talking more than you are. Part of being a player at the table, part of being a collaborator is being okay with being silent and letting other people talk and take the spotlight. So, you know, I have to remind myself of this. I tend to be a little overbearing at the table. I feel like you know, I get so excited and I get so into it and I get so, you know, passionate about it that I tend to talk a lot and maybe try to fill the silence a little bit too much when I'm playing. But it's something I have to remind myself of, that I'm not the only person at the table, and it sounds like you're kind of dealing with the same thing. Just remember that you're not the only person at the table, and it's okay for it to be quiet. If you don't talk, someone else will. So, also, if you're making annoying characters, just don't do that. Okay. We're going to look for more questions here. We got some more questions. Oh, no, we don't. All right. I'm going to go for 10 more minutes, guys, and then I got to skedaddle. Also because my voice is leaving me. Oh, I got a new book today. It's The Storyteller's Thesaurus, and it seems kind of cool. I haven't really looked through it because I got it at work. But it's basically like different things. Like, for instance, okay? So, occupation, adventurers. Assassin, there's other words for assassin. Barbarian, other words for barbarian. Bard, other words for bard. You know, so they got characters, they have architecture and property. It's like a fantasy writer's thesaurus that specifically, like, like different, and like weird stuff, like all the Knights of the Round Table, legendary weapons from myth. What is this? Magic, different magical effects and spells. Magical vocabulary, animals and creatures, flora and fauna. And then it came with 2. I think the hardback one has an index in it, and this paperback one doesn't. Yeah, the paperback one doesn't have the index, so this is probably the one I would use more, just because it's smaller and more portable. Oh, wait. No, this is... Oh. This isn't even a thing. This is a bunch of short stories. Jeez. So this is like short stories. This is the actual thesaurus. Anyway, I kickstarted this a few months ago. It's Troll Lord Games. They're the guys that do Castles and Crusades. They're like doing Kickstarters every other day, and this is one of the Kickstarters they did. So that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to utilizing that in my prep and such. And my writing. Be good for writing, too. All right, 5 more minutes, guys. Lynx Panda says, before you get off, thanks for the Q&A and have a good night. You too, man. Appreciate it. The Swamper's in the house. He says, my favorite group is when I have a table full of players who are all dying to speak. Yeah, it's true. That's how I feel like their provokers are sometimes. It's like, it's hard to get a word in edgewise just because they're all such awesome role players, so. Okay. This has been fun, guys. Thanks to everyone for coming by. I really enjoy doing these live things, and I think we had about 30 people watching most of the time, so that's good. Sorry, my voice was not cooperating. Hopefully, this soda will help my throat. All right. Got time for a few more questions, guys. Wolf Puppy. Matt, do you ever put your players in situations that can be quite problematic? Situations such as having them encounter a group of orcs which they defeat, and then they find orc women and children. Yeah, that's a classic. If so, how have they turned out? Well... Previously, in my group, we have had issues with straight-up fights breaking out over things like this, like moral decisions, where it's like, should you kill the unarmed goblins? And, like, it's like straight-up, like, people arguing about it at the table, which isn't fun, but, yeah, no, it's actually a really good DMing technique to present the party with the consequences of their actions, good and bad. You know, just as clearing a group of orcs out of a fortress benefits the local town, Well, there's a downside to it now because the orcs kept the gnolls at bay, and now the gnolls are hunting, the wildlife and pushing the wolves out of the forest into the town and stuff like that. So it's important to always kind of lay those things out for the party. You know, they can't just run around being murder hobos without there being consequences. So everything has a push and pull. There's a good and bad to everything, and everything is always in a state of flux. So make sure you illustrate that to the players. As I die. Okay. A few more minutes. Mershpale says, "Hey Mac." It's Matt, Ashley, M-A-T-T. "Thanks for the stream. Get better soon." Thanks. Sean Bateman. Okay, so I kind of have the opposite problem to Intuition Joe, where my adventures are always too short and will span 1 to 2 sessions. What are some tips to make my adventures last longer and feel more epic? Ask your players for their goals and make it so that the adventures complete those goals. Utilize your character's background, their homeland, their family, their friends, past allies and enemies. Make the campaign matter to the characters, and it will keep going and going. Utilize as much of your character's background and motivations and stuff like that as possible. So, Wasp Prime RLSH asks, "Do you think ninjas and samurais are good classes or should not be in Pathfinder?" I have never played a ninja or a samurai, so I cannot tell you. I would say that it's kind of weird that they have ninjas and samurais when you can easily make a rogue a ninja or a fighter a samurai, but hey, who am I to judge? All right, got time for a few more people. How's the new mic, by the way? Is it picking up my horribly raspy voice pretty good? I really like this new mic. I've got it on a stand here, so I can kind of swivel it away. If I don't need it, I can swivel it back. It's nice. I like it. Plus, it's not on the desk anymore, so I can tap the desk without it reverberating through the mic, and I can roll my dice on the table when I'm doing live games and stuff like that without it being super loud. So I like it, man. Refreshing one more time. Checking for the questions. Checking for the questions. Man, the comments on YouTube act so weird. It's like you refresh and it like reverts back to like 5 comments ago. I don't understand it. They need to implement a chat. Mershpeel says, "LOL, sorry, I knew it was Matt. That's just how I greet people sometimes." Fair enough. Dizzy Bench. "Hey, I've been watching your videos for a while, and they have proven very helpful. Thank you." No, thank you. "I've recently gathered a small group of friends, and we started a campaign I DM'd. Unfortunately, one of our group wasn't able to make the first session. The second session is this week, and he is able to attend. How can I add him to the campaign? Should I start him off at the same level as the rest of the party? Thanks." Yeah, I would start him off at the same level as the party. And as for adding him into the campaign, just find a reason why he would be in the same area as the party or be on the same mission as the party, and sort of weave him in. And just make sure you give him a brief synopsis about what happened in the previous session, or better yet, ask one of your other players to do so that he's up to speed and he knows the general gist of the campaign and the setting and what the players are trying to achieve. And yeah, just sort of come up with a way for him to, show up somewhere, just as you would an NPC, whether they, stop in a town, or if they're in a dungeon, maybe he's already on the second level of the dungeon, has been surviving on his own down there, or something like that. So yeah, shouldn't be too difficult. Sounds like a lot of fun, man. I'm glad you're having your second session, and I hope that it's a good one. All right, we are at 7 o'clock. I will take one more question. One more question. All right, 2 more question. Wolf Puppy, permanent wounds, yay or nay? Yay. Great channel, wish you lots of success. P.S. The mic is great. Thanks, man. Intuition Joe, if you're begging for questions, I can oblige. Mike also sounds really crisp. What's the best way to integrate players and their characters into a custom world without just handing them your world guide? Don't overload them with information at first. Give them a brief overview of the world and its people and its recent world events, and discover the world together. Let them discover the world just as their characters would. Because a character living in a world wouldn't know everything there is to know about the world. Hell, we live on planet Earth and we have the internet at our fingertips, and we don't know everything there is to know about the world. I don't know everything about every place or every person. So don't feel the need to fully integrate them into the world before the campaign starts. Start them off in one place and build out from there, and let them sort of discover it as they go. And there's no reason why you can't say, oh, yeah, your character would know about this. Here's what you know, without having to tell them before the campaign starts. Because if you overload them with information before the campaign starts, there goes my voice. If you overload them with information before the campaign starts, they're not going to remember it. So you want to litter the campaign like breadcrumbs in front of them so they can find out about it as they go, little by little. I think that's my body telling me that the Q&A is over. Jesus. That just went. Nothing left, man. I have been talking nonstop for an hour. All right, guys, so I answered 2 more questions. I made good on my promise and then did 1 more. So I am going to call it a night. But thank you to everyone who stopped by for the Q&A. Thank you for all the questions. And I really enjoyed all the questions you guys had. I'm sorry for the raspy voice and the fact that I'm getting over being sick. I'm going to go figure out what I'm going to have for dinner. And I'll do another one of these live streams here soon. I've got some more videos coming next week. Hopefully an episode of Party of 2 and a few other videos that I've got in the can. And don't forget that February 22nd is going to be session 6 of the Provokers. So I hope to see you all there for that. Okay, I am dying, so I'm going to log off before I do that. Okay? Thank you, everyone, again. Have a great night. Take care. Happy gaming, all.